This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
A lot has been said about packing the court, adding seats to the United States Supreme Court in the wake of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And I believe, I'm an advocate of it. And a lot of people say, well, you can't do that because then Republicans will just do the same thing and then they'll accomplish all kinds of crazy shit. Yeah, but they're already accomplishing those things. They're already doing the things we fear they're gonna do if they have a packed Supreme Court. So why not fight fire with fire, so to speak, except for the fact that we would be adhering to the Constitution, the rules laid out by our governing documents to deal with a rogue and anti-democratically appointed court. And it's not just me, it's not just progressives online. We have members of Congress who believe the same thing. We have elected members of Congress who have a vote, who have a say in the matter, who agree that we should expand the Supreme Court from 9, hasn't always been 9, to a higher number, to bring balance back, to bring a democratic flair to our judicial system, namely the Supreme Court. Here's Mondaire Jones, a New York congressman, White Plains, talking about this. Watch this.
To my colleagues who say that if we expand the court, Republicans may do it back at some indeterminate time in the future, understand that the nightmare scenario of GOP court packing is already upon us. That's how they got this far-right 6-3 majority in the first place. Following the death of Antonin Scalia, Mitch McConnell and his Republican allies in the Senate left open Merrick Garland's seat for 14 months. And then they went back on their non-existent rule that they invented for cynical purposes to rush through the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett as a presidential election was already underway and as millions of votes had already been counted.
And Congressman Jones lays out a completely separate plan and perspective on what I'm talking about. They've already packed the court. The manner with which they appointed these 3 justices is court packing. Now, I'm going to read a little bit from this Vox article that talks about it, and it really does lay out the case for how it could be done, I mean, kind of loosely, but also the justification constitutionally that this isn't a radical move. This is something that FDR threatened to do, but also the fact that the Supreme Court isn't set in stone at 9 members just because in all of our lifetimes it's been that way. It doesn't mean it has to remain. We need to jettison this adherence to tradition. We need to, just because that's the way it's always been since we've been alive, it must continue to be that way. It does no one any good. It serves no purpose. It has no utility in governance. This article from Vox, 10 ways to fix a broken Supreme Court. Democrats don't have the votes right now for major Supreme Court reform, but if they pick up seats, they could have many options. Indeed, the GOP owes its control of the court to an anti-democratic system that effectively gives extra votes to Republicans. Only 3 justices. Now listen to this paragraph, the remainder of this paragraph. It is critically important for us to understand our history and the makeup of how things get done to understand just how anti-democratic it is. Only 3 justices in American history were appointed by a president who lost the popular vote and confirmed by a block of senators who represent less than half of the country. All 3 of these Supreme Court justices we're talking about, all 3 were appointed by Donald Trump, and all 3 sit on the court right now. We're talking about Neil Gorsuch, Brett Bart Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. Donald Trump didn't win the popular vote. The majority of Americans didn't vote for Donald Trump. And because of the fact that we have this arcane adherence to tradition, Electoral College, he got to pick. And then they were confirmed by a Republican-controlled Congress, Republicans in the Senate, a Republican-controlled Senate, and Republicans in the Senate only represent about 40% of Americans. Because you've got 2 senators from Idaho, where there's like 1.5 million people. You've got 2 senators from Wyoming that has fewer people than the city in which I live. That's four senators right there that don't represent even the city of Los Angeles, population-wise. Neither Congress nor President Joe Biden, however, are powerless against an anti-democratic Supreme Court. The elected branches have broad powers to rein in a rogue judiciary or to limit the scope of at least some of the court's decisions. The greatest of these powers is court packing, adding additional seats to the Supreme Court to dilute the votes of Trump justices who lack democratic legitimacy. And that is ultimately all we're trying to do, is bring democratic balance back to the Supreme Court, back to the highest court within the judiciary of the United States. That's it. It's not a radical power grab. It's a constitutionally authorized, a constitutionally mandated action by the Congress. Because again, I will say it again and again and again until people start to listen. Congress, through constitutional power, granted, has the authority to organize the courts. They don't organize themselves. 2 paragraphs about court packing here from Vox. Let's get the biggest weapon in the arsenal of democracy out of the way first. If Congress has the votes, it could simply add more seats to the Supreme Court. President Biden would then name several new justices to fill those vacant seats, who could be confirmed by a Democratic Senate. A Democratic Senate which represents a majority, a vast majority of America. Not like Republicans, who represent roughly 40% of Americans. Although the Constitution provides that there must be a Supreme Court, it does not say how many justices shall serve. Over the course of American history, the court has had as few as 5 seats and as many as 10. A pending bill in Congress right now would add 4 seats to the court, transforming the 6-3 Republican majority into a 7-6 Democratic majority. This is all we got to do. This is it. And for those who fear that, then Republicans will make it a 15-seat court or a 17-seat court. They're already accomplishing radical ideological goals, political outcomes that are terrible for the majority of Americans. And they're doing it without a mandate from the people. Over 60% of Americans right now disapprove of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Over 60%. And it doesn't matter, because we've got our anti-democratic rogue Supreme Court that ruled that way. The Republican Party got their way. Why are we so afraid that they're going to do other stuff? They're going to do it anyway, without packing the court. They're accomplishing what they want to accomplish without packing the court, because we live in a crumbling democracy. What do you think? I would love to know. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. If I bring you some value, if I am your flavor of political commentator, please consider supporting my work, clicking the join button, seeing what's involved. For as little as $1.99 a month, pennies a day, you can help support my work, help produce what I do here. I believe the mission of this show is important, and you can be a part of it as well. You can also go over to patreon.com/I Doubt It podcast and help support my work there. Follow me on social media. I am at Dollemore on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. That's at Dollemore. I'll see you next time. I love you guys. I appreciate you very much. Until I do see you, be genuine. Take care of one another.